Lolita was a firecracker. She was involved socially. She had a lot of friends. She was always into the sports and just hanging out with friends and going shopping and going to the movies, and she was just spunky.
When we lived in the state of Washington, we had a vacation home that we shared with another couple on Hood Canal, and we did all kinds of things out there. The kids, Lolita and her brother Travis, they were beach explorers. We crabbed, we fished, and then of course the mandatory wakeboarding, water skiing, inner tubing.
The summer of my freshman summer going into my sophomore year, me and Lolita started hanging out a lot. Like, we hung out every day. And at that time I was dating Steve-O, and Steve-O would always go up there and pick her up and stuff, and we just chill, and we'd always go back to my house, and Dan would come over, her boyfriend at the time, and we just all hang out and stuff.
The things we like to do were, walk around the neighborhood and hold each other's hand, and we used to go walk down to the golf course or something and sit there and watch the sprinklers go.
She's not your typical 17-year-old girl. She's not your typical 17-year-old, period. She wasn't all about the latest fashion. She wasn't all about the gossip. She would speak in a way that would make you think you're talking to a 30-year-old, 40-year-old woman. Her outlooks on life, her outlooks on careers, her outlooks on relationships. She was something else.
She is such a character. That kid was just a feisty thing.
She had a very diverse group of friends. Mm-hmm. She befriended just about everybody. I don't want to say she'd bring the stray dogs home, but there were no stray dogs in Lolita's life.
If they needed a friend, she would.
She accepted people for what they were.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. She was just so non-judgmental, She was good.
Lolita was my partner in crime. Mm-hmm. If I was the Lone Ranger, she was Tonto.
Yep. They're good buddies.
She was just a kid.
Yeah.
And she was a kid being a kid that night.
Yep. She made a big mistake.
And my mom called Lolita's mom to tell her, and her dad didn't believe it. He's like, no, she is in her room sleeping. And my mom's like, no, your daughter is down here, and she's in a car accident. You need to come down here. And we were all waiting for her mom to show up and stuff, and when they got here, we just heard them scream, like the most harshest scream. Like, every time I hear it, I get goosebumps.
The phone rang. It was about 2:45 on Tuesday morning. And it was a lady's voice. And she said, Mr. Prater? And I said, yes. She said, there's been a car accident. And I said, okay. She said, well, Lolita's in it. And I said, no, Lolita's in bed. And she said, no, Lolita's under the car.
When I first met up with her, she had told me that she had snuck out. So on that night when she had pulled up, she had pulled up kind of fast. She was in a joking manner, and her boyfriend was in the passenger seat, and he had the funniest expression I've probably ever seen him have. She came to kind of a screeching stop, screeched 10 feet, and it was just funny. I wasn't expecting it. And so at come 2:44, a minute earlier from when she had priorly talked about leaving, after she said, I love you, Steve-O, I looked in the car and I was like, so are you gonna drive off fast? You should drive off fast. It might scare Dan, it would be funny. And then she's like, I don't know, and I was like, you should. Lo and behold, she drove off like a bat out of hell.
Lolita floored it down this dirt road. And I was like, okay, tap on your brakes, so that way we don't slide. She slammed on the brakes, and we we slid real far, and then the car started rolling.
Car rolled through this fence, rolled over, and she got ejected in the car. The door, where the driver's side door connects to, landed on her and crushed her.
And we tried lifting the car up of her, and we got it like halfway up, and it was just so heavy we could not get it all the way up. So we like lightly set it down. We called 911.
I got down here, jumped the fence, and all I remember seeing is Dan, her boyfriend, out of the car, one more girl out of the car, and then he said, "Help, I need help, Lolita's stuck underneath the car." So, and as I was running and jumping over the fence, I saw one of the other girls trying to climb out of the passenger, the back passenger side. The car was laying on the driver's side. So as I dialed 911, I was helping her out with one hand. I got her out, and that's when it actually clicked that like Lolita's on the ground.
On July 12th, I had a volleyball practice up in Monument. So I was coming home from it, going south on I-25, just regular 75 miles an hour was the speed limit, so that's what I was going. I was in the left lane, and my car started shaking pretty hard. So I knew something was wrong. So I was gonna pull over, but before I really had a chance to think about anything, my car veered to the left, so it was kind of going towards the median, towards northbound traffic. So obviously I didn't want to hit the guardrail, so I turned my wheel to the right, which ended up flipping my car 180. So then I was facing people going southbound, and somehow I missed this car that was in the right lane. I don't know how I didn't hit it because I saw it right next to me, but I didn't hit it. So I went through the right lane and into the field, and as soon as I hit the field, I just kind of started flipping, and I don't know, I was scared, but I wasn't crying or screaming scared. I was just, didn't really know what to do. No one tells you what to do when your car flips.
I actually heard about the crash with her when I was sitting at home, just casually watching TV, and I get a text from her just oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, and I was I was kind of uh-oh, and I read this text saying, I just got in a car accident, I flipped my car 4 times, tire popped.
The police were there talking about this situation. They couldn't believe it, that someone could walk out of this car and have literally, she had one cut, and it took the smallest Band-Aid out of the Band-Aid box when you look at Band-Aids on her knee, and I think she did that when she kind of climbed through the window and caught on one of those little pieces of glass shrapnel.
My car was flipping and everything was going in a circle in my mirror and my window, and then it just stopped, and then I thought it was going to flip upside down, but it tilted back, so I landed on the left side of the car. So I was laying on the ground, and I just was sitting there what just happened? And I wasn't oh, am I okay? I was oh, are my parents gonna be mad?
Mostly I was just so relieved. That's just the biggest, was relief. I mean, I just couldn't even process the car or what it, I knew nobody else was involved. I knew she was okay. And probably what helped me get it together to get up there and be together about it was that she called me. It was her voice saying, "Mom, I've been in an accident."
They pulled me out through the passenger window, and they set me on the ground. I wasn't hurting anywhere. I was fine. I was just in a lot of shock. I was shaking really bad. I didn't have to go to the hospital. I was fine. But the only reason, they told me several times, if you weren't wearing a seatbelt, we wouldn't have even come. We would have just sent the coroner.
I don't know what I would do if Taylor died, just because we have so many memories, and I love her so much, and it'd just be really hard. And her family, I don't know how her family could handle it, so I started thinking about everyone she knew and how much it would change our lives if she had not survived.
I don't think there's any more terrifying sound than to hear the cry of a mother. When Lolita's mother rolled up, she got out of the car and she had parked down the road a little, and she could see her baby girl laying underneath this car. And to hear the scream, hear the cry of this woman, it haunts me every night.
When we pulled up and we got out of the car, there was the car on its side. And then probably 50 feet from where the car was, under a pine tree, was a blanket with a little body underneath it. And I knew that was my baby girl. And odd things go through your mind. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go over there. I'll pull that blanket back and I'll say, Lolita, come on, wake up. Come on, you're okay. My little girl, there weren't drugs involved, there wasn't drinking, and she made one major mistake. She forgot to put her seatbelt on.
We miss her so much. Our dog, to this day, and it's been over a year, our dog sleeps in our bedroom with us, and Lolita's bedroom was right down the hall. And still to this day, when we wake up in the morning and open our bedroom door, the first place the dog goes is to Lolita's bedroom and walks around the bed looking for her still. It just leaves such a hole in your heart. A huge void. A huge void. That in a split-second decision that she made impacts so many people. And it's such a shame because that little girl had so much on the ball. She was beautiful, a beautiful child, and her heart was equally as beautiful. She had so much to offer to so many people. And it's just really a shame. And the one simple thing, if she'd had that seatbelt on, she would be here.
It is totally not worth showing off, hot dogging, street racing. I mean, I will never forgive myself for me telling her to drive off fast. I always go back to the, if I didn't say that, would she still would have done that? I mean, because that was ultimately what caused the accident. She was driving fast on a dry dirt road at night, not an experienced driver. And I've been haunted ever since that night. I mean, I used to be able to sleep like a baby. And ever since that night, every night, you know, I'll wake up in tears, I'll wake up sweating, I'll wake up screaming. You know, it's having dreams of this event over and over again. You know, it haunts me.
You know, the thing I would do differently is, you know, I wouldn't have let her drive. I would have been in the driver's seat and I would not have let her drive at all. That was my mistake.
I miss her laugh. Her laugh was so cute. Like, everyone thought it was so cute. That's a laugh I'll never forget. And her eyes, the way she'd look at you through her eyes, I will never forget that.
She was not wearing a seatbelt. Nobody else was wearing a seatbelt except for Dan in the passenger seat. And it is absolutely not a good amazing, but a strange, you know, untold, unable to be found out type amazing of how this accident that can leave the other three, the two girls in the back and the Dan, her boyfriend in the passenger seat, without the slightest scratches or bruise, but it takes her life.
What happened to Lolita and the other kids that were with her that night is a terrible tragedy that can never be erased, that can never, you know, she'll never come back. And there's so many people that she affected their lives, and she won't even ever know that.